The majority of Texans think the state spends less than $1 billion on education each year. The real figure, $93 billion, nearly 5 times what the state spends on public safety and criminal justice. That's $16,800 per Texas student. And it's all paid for by you, the Texas taxpayer, with just over half of your property taxes going to cover the cost. And while your property value has gone up over the last decade, so is your tax rate and the revenue it provides to the school district. It might cost you a lot, but hey, it's all worth it if Texas students are getting the kind of quality education they deserve. After all, they're the future. Except, despite the massive increase in spending, student performance has been on a decline. According to the nation's report card, in 2024, state proficiency in 4th grade math fell from an already disappointing 44% down to 40%. That means in a 4th grade class of 20 students, only 8 can do math at grade level. In reading, Texas has one of the lowest proficiency rates in the country, with only 55% of students reading at grade level. That same 4th grade class of 20, only 11 kids are reading at grade level. And we know that if students aren't able to catch up by the 4th grade, they're unlikely to ever. In education rankings across the United States, Texas is only 12 spots from the absolute bottom. But maybe that $93 billion only seems like a lot, and the real problem is that we should be spending more. For reference, let's look at Florida. Despite spending less money per student than Texas, Florida is ranked at the top. So if Texas is spending more of your money to achieve worse outcomes, where exactly is all the money going? It must be textbooks, classroom supplies, teacher salaries, and the tools that help our students thrive. Or is it? In reality, only about 40% actually reaches the classroom. The other 60? $18.4 billion is spent on administrative pay, $15.5 billion on operating expenses, and a staggering $24.5 billion on land purchasing, construction, and debt. School district spending on land purchasing and construction, building new schools, facilities, and infrastructure, has gone up 116% in the last decade. Texas is finally moving up the rankings at something, beating out union-controlled California by $2.5 billion, for the crown of being number 1 for spending the most money on new buildings. That's enough money to build over 20 brand new AT&T Dallas Cowboy stadiums every year. But maybe this money goes toward important construction projects like making schools safe, building repairs, or air conditioning installation. Well, some. But a lot of that money goes towards projects like this $20 million water park, or this $80 million high school football stadium, or this multi-million-dollar swimming pool for a high school without a swim team. And the reality is that $24.5 billion is just scratching the surface of the cost. These projects are also funded by accruing billions of dollars of debt. Last year, Texas school districts carried $33,542 in debt per student. That's the equivalent of one new Ford Mustang for every student in the state of Texas. But there's one area that spending hasn't increased: teacher salaries. Since 1970, Texas has increased per student funding by 166%, but in that same time period, teacher pay has only increased by 16%. So more money is pouring into the system, but it's not going to teachers, and student outcomes are only getting worse. The big question remains: why? It's time to take a closer look at the system and ask ourselves, is this the best we can do for the future of Texas?